Alright, and we should be good. Hello, everybody! Hello, Stargazers. How's everyone doing today? Hello, Vessa. Hello, Murdoch. Hello, Thorn. Hello, Judgmental Cat. I'm in an elevator? What do you... You're in an elevator, and yet you can still do a Yoshi impression, huh? Ashel! The music is elevator music? It sounds like music from the movie Mirror Mask. Amazing movie if you haven't seen it yet. Collab between Jim Henson and Neil Gaiman. Oh, that sounds interesting. Actually, neither. It is actually Cat Records. It is Raylus's music. Raylus has a lot of really nice DMCA-free, totally not shilling right now, really nice comm music, and I felt that comm music would be better for a thumbnail educational type stream. Zero, thank you so much for resubscribing. I really appreciate it. Thank you. I thought comm music would be better because I'm going to try to record this, and I don't really want, like, super intense orchestra battle music throwing things off when I'm trying to explain things. So we're trying to use the comm instrumental today, and Raylus has a lot of nice tracks for it. Welcome in, Sierra. Welcome in. Hope everything's going well. How's everybody doing today? Happy weekend. I hope everybody is having a good weekend so far. I'm excited. We're gonna try something new. This is gonna be an interesting experiment, you know? I am taking critique techniques from one of my old art teachers. What I'm going to be doing for this stream, and this is going to be a little bit tricky because I'm going to be aware that some of the techniques or some of the things that I tell you guys could be revised or improved. I understand that because of the particular programs or software you use to make your thumbnails, such as like Canva or something, it might not be possible to do all of the techniques I suggest. I'm going to try to keep it very general. I'm going to do my best to keep it just to the things that are very applicable to anything, not using any crazy effects or stuff like that. But I'm going to be basically doing, I'm basically going to be doing paintovers, and I might try throwing in text if I can. But if I can't, then I'm just going to be painting over text and giving you a sort of rough idea of how I will critique these. I'm going to try to take it, like, if you guys have watched Vtuber Senpai's channel reviews, you know that mainly what he's doing for his improvement and review is speaking about the changes. I'm going to be trying to do things that are a little more visual, so I'm going to be doing a little bit of paint over and editing. No 10-minute anime character redeem? Not today. I feel like it would sort of break the flow a little bit. I can turn it on at the end if we have time, but I'm really not sure how the timing is going to be. So we're sort of playing around and experimenting. Hello, Lily. Welcome in, welcome in. I'm glad to see YouTube is working. I also tried doing a scheduled stream for the first time, which I wasn't sure how it would play with Restream. It looks like it worked. I don't know if anyone saw that on YouTube. I had it set up a few hours beforehand, just as an experiment, just to see how that works, how that gets set up. Trying a lot of new things today, needless to say. But yeah, when I pull up your thumbnail, if there's anything very particular that you want me to address or discuss or think about, or certain things that you're wondering about, let me know, and I'll try to address those as well. And we're just gonna have fun today. We're gonna see how things go. You saw it? Awesome! I'm gonna try doing that more often. I noticed that, Senpai and Raylus both set up things that way, and I think it makes sense. I don't always know what I'm doing as far ahead as they do, but it's good to experiment. It's good to play around with different tools. But thank you for letting me know. I'm really glad to hear that. So, let's see here. I think I have everything set up. I've got everybody's thumbnails set up. And if you are interested in having your thumbnail reviewed and you have not yet submitted, if you go to my Ko-fi page, if you do !Ko-fi, it'll appear, or I will also throw this page in chat. If you've not yet submitted for a thumbnail and you want to, that is the link where you can submit. You just purchase, air quotes, the listing, and it'll give you a Google form to fill out. And it's just, you know, name and thumbnail. And I think what I'm gonna do next time is have name, thumbnail, and desired YouTube title, because I should think about how the YouTube title and the thumbnail are sort of playing with each other. Or against each other, depending. Anyway, we are going to jump on in here. So our first person here is Judgmental Cat. We'll go to our main scene. Here we go. So Judgmental Cat has been playing a lot of Risk of Rain. If you guys have not seen Judgmental Cat's insane, like, dev work video on how they had all these items on them in the game and, like, reflected into VTube Studio, definitely check it out. It's kind of amazing. So, I like the idea here that we're going for. We've got a lot of enemies sort of on either side of Judgmental Cat, sort of surrounding him. He's got the sweat mark, he looks concerned. Yeah, exactly. So, what I think will help here is, let me get a lighter color that you can see. Alright, do we see how we have all of this empty space here and empty space here? And I understand that the thumbnail is going to be in the corner. I totally get that. But we have a lot of empty space that we can work with. So my idea here, I think the logo is okay. We might be able to enlarge the logo a bit. And I'm guessing that these are sort of hordes of enemies. So this would be my main idea, and Judgmental Cat, you can tell me if there's anything else that you're sort of wondering about, or if you're, like, intentionally trying to show off the background. But the thing that I think is the most important in the thumbnail, the background is good for sort of filling in the space, but I think that if someone knows the game, they probably know the enemies, so making the enemies a little bit larger so that you can really see what is working and what isn't. Sort of making them almost our focal point, right? So there's sort of two ways we can go about this. We kind of have the VTuber as the focal point, but I think what we can do, and of course I'm just going to be playing around a little bit, is I'm going to select Judgmental Cat, and again, I'm doing this very roughly, just because I want to get, I just want to get the idea down. It's not going to be super perfect or super clean. But what I'm thinking is we can make him a little bit bigger, and then lower him a bit so he looks smaller, so that he feels a little bit, like, scared in the environment, but is still easier to spot. So it's sort of like, you know, you have scarier things towering over you, right? So I'll just fill this in real quick. Very loose. I want to make sure that I'm still showing a little bit of the white belly. But I'm going to bring this down just a little bit more, because I kind of want this to be a little bit, like, freaked out, scared. Oh, the other thing that I should do. Hang on 1 second. I want to try making a copy of these before I go in and... Let me just grab this real quick again. It's open, so that's not helpful. Alright, 1 second here. We'll just grab this. Copy it. Go back a little. Paste it. Alright. And then we will have this one as our main one. This is our backup. Alright, we're good. Just so we can see, like, a before and after easier. gonna lock that so that doesn't happen again. Trying to figure out which one I'm on. Alright. Lock it, hide it, work with it. Just quickly filling it in here. And again, it's not super clean because I don't have all the images. I don't have, like, your guys' layered files. So, I'm just giving you the rough idea on how I'd approach it. What's the point of doing it through Ko-fi instead of posting the Google form in the Discord server? It just opens it to more people, hopefully. I don't know. The other thing is that, if I change how I do it later, I don't want everybody to easily have the link. So, I mean, I could probably just change it again, but I'm just trying to figure out how to best balance it, so that people don't abuse it if I change it later. Now that I'm thinking about it, it might have been a good way to get more people into the Discord. It's all experimental. I also had some advice to do it through Ko-fi, so I'm sort of, you know, playing around, seeing what works. Anyway. Alright, so we have Judgmental Cat, but he's a little bit lower. It sort of makes him a little bit more meek, a little bit more easily scared. And then the enemies here, we can sort of really enlarge them and sort of have them very threatening. And it's okay to crop the enemies if it is a good composition, right? So right here, for example, if we had done the cropping here, you guys know how I feel about this being like a tangent. This is sort of right on the edge. And if it was here, it kind of wouldn't show enough of the other enemies. It would be a little too abstract. So about here, I'd say, gives us the idea that there's multiple enemies and there isn't any intense tangents going on. I'm gonna make this a tiny bit smaller just so that we don't crop into his ear by accident. I'm gonna have to end up repainting in the title a little. And we'll repaint in the background. And then I'll do that on the other side here with the other enemies. I can't quite tell if I'm getting them. These ones are a little bit more obscure to me. I don't really know what they are. But again, I want this feeling of overwhelm. I want this feeling of like, I'm adding a little bit more space here, just because this being cropped probably wouldn't work as well, but I want to bring it out just a little bit more. Just so that it's not like right on the edge, you know? A little bit of breathing room, a little bit of space. So something like this, maybe? And I might reduce these guys a tiny bit. I might have made them a little bit too close. They're wisps? Okay. I don't know anything about Risk of Rain, so I do apologize if I don't quite know what I'm talking about. I want a little bit more breathing room there. And again, we're just gonna fill this in very roughly. I'm not even working on, like, painting techniques to make it look clean. I'm just sort of trying to do what I can here. And then the logo itself, I think we can probably take it and enlarge it a little bit because we have some space here. So I think that can fit a little bit nicer. So hopefully it's clear that even if I'm not making it super clean, when you rearrange things on your editing software of choice, then there is kind of, actually bring that down a little further. Then you sort of know where to go with it. Bring down a little bit further and enlarge it a little bit more. So I'm trying to get a nice balance here. And again, I think that there's going to be the stamp in the corner. The other thing is that this sweat drop might be a little too small. I think we can enlarge it just a bit more. Because think about how small a YouTube thumbnail is going to be. I don't want it to be... How do I want to... the ear kind of gets in the way, so maybe it's actually good where it is. It's probably good where it is. Because we made the cat bigger, I think it's easier to stand out. And then, I know this is sort of background, but I just want to give it the better idea of not just being flat. So, I'm sort of enlarging everything, paying attention to my cropping on each end, sort of filling in that space. And then you'll notice that where we had all that empty space now, there is a little bit less. So there's still a little bit of more room for the eye to move around, but it fills things in nicely. And then you still are the focal point, but you are a little bit shorter, lower to the ground. So it sort of feels like things might be towering over you, and these are sort of coming from both directions above you, right? Adds a little bit more of that intense feeling. The other thing that I might do, I like how you have the glow around you. Are the enemy, is the red outline around the enemies the same color? I don't think they are, right? This is something where it would probably be a little bit more software dependent, but I might just try adding a bit more of a threatening red in sort of a soft glow on either end. If these are both enemies that are going to attack you, right? I might add a little bit more of that glow. That also helps separate them a little bit more from the background. Again, I think the outline on you works really well. The other thing that I would maybe do... Judgmental Cat, are these 4 repeated characters, or is this one image from the game? On either end. Like, is this one character, or... Like, this, I think is copy-pasted, right? YouTube accepts thumbnails at 1280 by 720, and it has less than 1 megabyte per the size, I think. Yeah, true. It's for repeated enemies? Okay. What I might consider... You don't have to do this. This is just a, it's just a potential idea. This is gonna be hard to sort of show in edit form, but just to give you an idea, I might vary the size of them a little bit. I might have, like... Have 2 of them in the back and 2 of them in the front, sort of taking over. I'm not sure if this is a swarm. This kind of looks like it's one big enemy, so it's probably fine. But do you see this sort of perspective I'm creating with the 2 different enemies? It still looks like they're all part of the same group, but you're creating this compositional trapezoid that takes up more room and has a little bit more of a threatening aura with them being a little bit larger. And I think, yeah, I think the outline works. I like how it sort of separates them again. But I would try to vary the size of them and then overlap them a bit like you did before. But with the varied sizes, it looks like some are in the front and some are in the back. And now it looks like you're really, really being surrounded by enemies. So this is where we ended up with all of those considerations, and this is where we had started, minus the glow. Hang on a sec here. Combine those. There we go. So this kind of gives it a little bit less of an open world feeling, because you're seeing a little bit less of the background, and I kind of painted over a lot of it. But the enemies feel much more intense and in front of you. And it feels like you have a lot less time to run, and they feel a little bit more intimidating. So this is where we started. And this is where we ended up. Sort of with things like towering around you. Let me save this out. And I will send this to you later as well. I'm gonna try to send the thumbnails back to each person if I can. Not really sure how to go about that in the future, but for now it's manageable. So I'll send that to you after stream, just to keep the very rough, loose idea, and you can look back on it and take a few tips and tricks from that. And who is next? We have Astrophel next. So Astrophel, for those of you who don't know, is a very literature and poetry and book focused VTuber. So she does a lot of like Jane Austen type readings, historical stories. She's a librarian VTuber, so we've got a lot of like romance and drama going on as well. So this thumbnail, I like the idea of, I actually kind of like the idea that the way he's posed, it almost looks like he's looking behind a wall. That's not the reality, but I think it's kind of cool. I'll probably remake it later for the video. Nice. And if you don't remake these later, if you just use them just to think about for a future video, then that's totally cool too. Whatever can be done to help. So, I like the idea that Astra has going here. I like the hearts. Sort of adds another pop of color. There's only 2 pops of color in this thumbnail, and it's both from emojis, which is interesting. So, I like the perspective. I'm gonna see what happens if we try to enlarge it just a bit more. I do kind of like where her hand is, but I just want to try this out. If we were to make this a little bit larger and push these together a tiny bit. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make another copy of this time. We're gonna learn to copy these. And very quickly, what I'm going to attempt is just getting rid of the text on this one, because I want to change the text as well. Let me talk about that real quick. The way that this font is, I think that the title works, but I think that we can improve the intensity of the message, right? Because this is sort of all like a very basic font, but we can tell that Astra is really trying to push the story by capitalizing her. Like, he proposed to her. There's definitely an emphasis here, so I want to address that. And instead of just caps, I'm also going to emphasize that with text size. So, like I said, I'm going to just paint over the text a little bit here, because I have all this on one layer, so it's just easier if I can paint over and add it in. So I'm just going in real quick and grabbing the gray values to match it. Luckily, it's easy to paint over. And then the emoji, I think I'm gonna grab it and throw it on a separate layer so that we can move it around a little bit more. And the hearts, I think they're okay where they are. Oh. Alright. Got the emoji, and now let's paint this in a little bit. So it's on another layer. We're just sort of opening ourselves to moving things around. Hello, hello, welcome in, Suna, welcome in, welcome in. Lovely to see you. We are currently working on thumbnail critiques today. I'm feeling a little bit picky, so let me just quickly blend these brush strokes out of the way. Just because that's gonna bother me otherwise. Alright, so now we basically got our separated characters. I want to experiment a little bit. I think that Astra did a very good job with how she cropped the pictures, but I'm just going to experiment and see if pushing them would be a little bit more helpful for composition. And the reason is because, as you guys know, with YouTube thumbnails, they're much smaller than how we see them when we're making them. So the larger things are, generally, the more impactful they can be. Not always, but I just sort of want to see what would happen. And actually, a better way that I should do this would be to make that another layer so I can move it around more if I need to. And this might not work. It might be that Astra had a better composition. But I just want to experiment a little. I'm just moving this over here. Making sure I'm not getting rid of any important elements. The other thing is that the way she left room probably is actually better for the text, now that I think about it. Because this is going to be harder to fit text in, even if it's going to be more impactful with the size. So actually, I'm going to go back. I think that Astra had the right idea. What I might do instead is actually go the opposite direction, potentially. So again, copy, Control V. Might move this a tiny bit, if possible. I'm not really sure how much the photo extends, to be fair. The font, or is taking up a little bit more room. So I might just make these ones a little bit smaller, move them up a little. So that gives us a tiny bit more room here, as opposed to them being right at the edge. This, you know, tiny bit helps. And then, because I made those smaller, I might make these a little bit bigger. Tiny bit. Just so we have some variation. They're not even. Some are smaller, some are bigger. I might even crop out one or two of the hearts. But because these are emojis, it's probably not something that would be easy to edit. So I'm gonna stick with what most people can edit in most programs. Whenever I download the thumbnail from Canva, it looks smaller than when I make them. I want to know if she said yes after the 9th time that Rafik gave up. So, because we made that a little bit smaller, I might try and... Let's see, I might try and push this a little further to the side, and it just gives us a tiny bit more room to add text. Which we're gonna need, because we're gonna push the text a lot. I'm gonna combine these again. I don't know if Astra was trying to make this centered. I might have ruined the centered portion of it, but it's okay. The other thing I might do... Again, I don't know if this would be possible. It might be a little bit tricky. Alright, I'm just gonna add this for like a... You probably can't do it, but it's good to keep in mind if you find things that can. If you have different, resources and assets in the future that you use that allow you to do this. This is a very straight line, but it's clearly supposed to be this old vintage photographic look. What I might try to do is try to see if you can find like a textured brush or a piece of paper or something, and sort of give it like a torn paper look, right? Again, don't know if that would be entirely possible with how we're doing this. But if you could find a way to do a torn paper look, then I think that that would be more effective than just the straight line. It gives a little bit more emphasis on theme. I'm gonna put the emoji back in. I think the emoji's fine. You might not need it. I don't know. We're gonna keep it on a separate layer just so that we can play with it. And then it was, what was it? It was, he proposed to her 9 times. Okay. So what I would probably do for that is I would break this up by different forms of text. So he is going to be really annoying on this program. The defaults are strange sometimes. We're going to make this a thick font, as we had before. Bring it back to white. Take the edge off a little. He proposed. Put that on a separate line. Let me think here. I'm not painting over, so this is a little bit trickier just to figure out the text. He proposed. I also want to be careful about which fonts I use, because I want to make sure that I'm still keeping it within the theme of this sort of old Victorian. What about this one? This is a font called Vivian. So I'm just sort of, I'm sort of trying to keep it within the theme here. I like how she sort of had it tilted. He proposed. Let's throw this all in a folder so that it's easier to move. He proposed to her 9 times. All right, I want to... Was this tilted? It was not tilted. I actually think it works better not tilted. I might try to find a different font here. I think that it works thematically, but not as much for legibility. So sometimes things work really well thematically, but not as well for a thumbnail, because it might be a little harder to read. I'm just going through here and seeing if there's anything... Something a little bit thicker might work. And I might... I'll reverse these back. Because Astra had these... Yeah. In a different situation. He proposed to her. Because her is capitalized, I'm going to try capitalizing he as well. See if I can change the size of this without it affecting the other piece. He proposed, change the line spacing. And I keep going back and forth to seeing what she had before. He proposed to her 9 times. I know I want to be changing this font. It just sometimes takes time to sort of experiment with things. And I think what I need to do is keep these on separate lines so that they're easier to edit. This is not my ideal text editing program, honestly. Let's move he. Yeah, I would not recommend this for text editing. I would not recommend Clip Studio Paint for text. Alright. And then to her can be another line. So we'll make that up again. He proposed to her. That one I'm going to make much smaller. Goes to her 9 times. Okay. To her. This looks a little bit messy. I'm gonna clean it up in a sec. 9 times. Okay. we've got all of our pieces now. Now we just gotta put them in the right order. It's like a little puzzle here. Now, I do wish Astra was here, just so I could figure out, like, what the intensity of the message needed to be. Okay, so one thing that's interesting about thumbnails is that as much as it's annoying to sort of separate every single line you have, and I know this is annoying in any program from Clip Studio to Canva or whatever, in my personal opinion, it is worth separating your lines because the way that you affect and balance the lines, the way that you affect the graphics, is so much easier when you can individually, when you can individually alter things, right? So, for example, 9 times, that's probably a really big deal. If I was just doing everything on the same line, it wouldn't be very effective. He proposed to her 9 times. But if I can make 9 larger, and I might even change the color of this. Actually, you know what I should do is I should change the color to that pink, and we should try to balance the color scheme a little bit. So, this never works out correctly, but I just want to try this. My color picker doesn't like the text tool for some reason. Post her 9 times, and I might actually even make another line if I can. See if I can do that. I want a second line, so that 9 is really in our face, right? He proposed to her 9 times is definitely the clear part. Because I am changing the emoji, and I'm using the pink, then I think maybe we don't need the emoji, but we shall see. Mint, hello! Tanette, hello! Tyrio! Hello, welcome! Welcome, Raiders! Hello! Hello, Sunflower! How are you all doing? How is everybody? I hope everyone is doing well. Welcome in. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Starlight. I'm a Celestial Fox VTuber. I'm currently working on YouTube thumbnail critiques. How was the rest of Cat Sensei's birthday? I stopped in earlier to say hello, wish him a happy birthday. I got to see the amazing fanfic that Mint did. How's everybody doing? I hope you are all having a lovely day so far. Clutter Raid? Clutter Raid? What happened? What happened at the end there? I had to, I had to leave after getting to see the beautiful fanfic and the amazing cosplay that you guys, that you did. My goodness. But how is everybody? I hope everyone is doing well. Yeah, so what we're currently doing right now is we are doing thumbnail critiques. So I have a Ko-fi listing where you can submit your thumbnails for critique, and I'm sort of going in and painting over and seeing what we can do to make things pop. A group of kittens is called a clutter? Really? I didn't know that. That's adorable. So we previously just did Judgmental Cat's thumbnail. So this is what Judgmental Cat originally submitted. And then we sort of wanted to push the intensity and the threat of the enemies in this game. So we sort of went from this, everything sort of separated to everything sort of feeling like a looming presence. And then right now we're doing Astrophels. And we're trying to discuss the intensity of changing your lines, each individual line in your thumbnail, to sort of push the emphasis on different words, right? Like, we were talking about how changing the color of the 9 really makes people pay attention. He proposed to her 9 times. That's a huge deal. We want the 9 to be really, really apparent. Ray Cat's library is cluttered. Cluttered? I mean, there are a lot of books, though. I'm glad you enjoyed your inclusion. Yeah, I thought that was hilarious. I got to be lookout because I can fly. I have wings. I can see where the danger is. I don't have any thumbs though. That's okay. I don't think Ray does either. Can I head pat you? I don't have a head pat redeem, but I have a way that you can hug people in chat. If you do !hug and then at a person, then you should be able to hug another chatter. That works. So we are currently working on Astrophale's piece. And did I separate to her? I did not. I want to separate that one more time. I'm going to duplicate this again. And I'm going to make 2 separate. And I'm going to make her separate. And the reason I'm doing that, let me figure out where I did this, to her, is because I might need to push this word more, and separating it will help a lot. He proposed to her. I'm actually gonna, you know what? I'm going to make both he and her in all caps. I don't know who he is. I actually don't know who this is about. But I think that this will help emphasize things. Let me make this a little smaller so we can get the proposed part. Why are these attached? Come on. Make this a little bit smaller. We'll make these the same size. Make this a little bit smaller. And then can I italicize this? I can. Okay. Pushing a little bit of the italics. He proposed to her. Do you see how by changing different parts of the text, we can pick what we want the audience to feel the emphasis is? I think that's really important when considering thumbnails. You want to basically tell your audience what the story is. Visually speaking. You don't literally, you know, in literally telling the audience what the story is, you're going to be using the title of your YouTube video. But in visually telling the story, you want to figure out the different cues that you can use. I feel like we don't need this emoji, and the reason I say that is because we want to keep this more, like, old Victorian poetry feeling. I think the emoji sort of takes us out of that a little bit. Plus, the yellow and blue are very different from the hearts and the pink that we're trying to reuse and reflect on. So I think that hiding the emoji sort of helps unify the composition and unify the color. Could do a ring emoji instead of the shocked face. How intense is the ring emoji? Hang on, ring emoji. That's a really good idea, Thorn. Yeah, because the ring emoji, I think, is like a silver. A silver, if it was a gold, it might be a little too intense. But because it's a silver, that might actually work. I'm trying to think of which one Astra used. I don't know what this is. We'll just use the apple one. Gotta love no transparency, huh? Alright, fine. We'll save that out. Grab it again. 1 second here. And we'll go for thumbnails. Where is... I have way too many folders. Thumbnail pieces. There we go. Tiny little ring here. We'll grab that. That's a really good idea, Thorn, because blue and pink tend to go together a little bit nicer. Can I even, like... that would be a little too hard to figure out. But... I'm trying to see if I can, like, throw them on the text at all. Probably not too easily. It might work, though. Could also put pink blush on her cheeks. We could, yeah. I'm trying to think of, like, what the limitation is that people were using. Okay, that's not gonna work. If I could put, like, a pink glow around that, that would be better. I'm trying... The composition of the ring is sort of throwing me off, but I think it's okay. I'm gonna try to move this so that I don't cover too much. And I still want these to read together. I do like the idea of the blush. I just don't know how much work that we're allowed to do, but if we can do, if Astra can do lines, you know? And again, this might not work because I don't know the story. Maybe she was really angry about it. I don't know. If she was angry about it, that might be a disaster. I'm not sure. This could be on or off. Astra, you get to choose. I don't want to ruin your novel narrative. You know what? Maybe if we just move... Playing around and moving things here. Ah! Don't want to do that. Yeah, there's no good way to do that. Goes to her 9 times. Blush doesn't fit. Yeah. Again, I don't know the story, so that could mess things up. I'm gonna make 2 a little bit smaller, because we don't really need the emphasis there. A little... that in. Proposed, we can have that little end of the P fit right in between these lines. And then proposed, 2 and her can all be moved up a tiny bit here. 9 can be moved a little bit in the center. I'm still thinking that it should be off to the side. Oh, actually, wait. I kind of like that. We tried something like this. So 9 times and the ring are all together. How do we keep doing that? Are all together. And then we can make it a lot larger. Is that ring showing enough, or is that just confusing? Make the ring a little bit smaller? I'm doing some overlap here, so that 9 times gets read together. So let's get 9 times and the ring again. And then I think we can drop these a little bit more. Probably make this a little bit larger. And I can fit this right under her face. Not enough? What's not enough? Not enough what? What is not enough about it? If I could just crop this, I would just, you know, I'd have it go on top of the 9. Oh, wait, what if I did this? My gosh. The scale and the paint bucket are right next to each other. Nah, it was worth experimenting. The ring doesn't pop out enough. It doesn't, does it? I agree. I just need to find a better ring. I agree with you that it doesn't pop out enough. See if we can find something quickly. It's also, like, it's silver on gray, so that also doesn't make it very easy. Alright, let's try the Android one. This might not work. We'll see. If it doesn't work, then we'll just, we'll nix it. It's not the one I wanted. Oh, spoiler there. Let's try grabbing this one. If it doesn't work, then we'll just go without it. What if we crop the ring so that it's only showing on the top here? Because I think that people get the idea that this is a ring. I don't know how much Astra can play with cutting this, but if you can just cut it halfway so that it gets more like a logo feeling, then I think that could work. What do you guys think about this? So we just cut half of the ring on the bottom so that it didn't feel like it was unfinished, and it feels more like a logo motif instead. And if I can add a line around it, maybe. Select from layer. Make new layer. Expand selection. How about something like that? Does that work out? I feel like now we can really easily read what's going on here. So he proposed, it's a longer word, so we can make it a little bit smaller. And we italicized it to sort of make it stand out a little bit, even it out. To her, again, pushing the emphasis on the word. 9 times, 9 being our main intense, crazy thing going on. And then, because it's proposal, and we want to think about, like, the ring, because Thorin had the really good idea there, then we grabbed one that sort of matched the previous emoji, and then added a white line to sort of tie it all together. White line, like on the 9. So that would be, the black and the white. See if we can do that. Selection. We'll just play around with it and see what happens. We'll make that one white, and then we'll make this one... Hang on. I want to make sure it's on another layer. Oh, where'd it go? Hang on, I'm getting confused. Alright, another layer. Select. Expand. Yes. Make this white. Hide this. Crop this. Make it black. There we go. Like that. Obviously, we can do it cleaner. That does help it stand out. There's a part of me that kind of likes the subtlety of it, so that the 9 doesn't get too overpowered, and that we don't really see, The ring is not as important as the 9. So I'm sort of making it a little bit more subtle, but still adding the outline so that we pay attention to it, because otherwise it gets a little bit too samey. I don't want it to read like 9D, right? So I'm actually intentionally going to leave out the black outline so that the 9 is what is taking the most precedence. It doesn't draw the eye too much. Yeah, exactly. Because we don't want that to sort of confuse the audience. But I think this works. I think this is good. So, again, this is what we had earlier. He proposed to her 9 times. And then this is sort of how we edited things, moved things around, because as you guys saw, we were right at the edge of these characters. We needed as much room for the text as we could get. And then he proposed to her 9 times. I think that works. I think that works. We're gonna save this out. Say revision. Yep, that's fine. I think that works. I think that's good. Thorn, the idea with the ring was really helpful. I think that worked really well. Cause like a pink and a blue and a silver work. I could use a pun here. Marry together better than a pink and a harsh gold. Unless you're doing something with, like, a romantic Sakura theme. It's all about the context. But I think this works. Alright, our next one is gonna be interesting. Warning you all now. It's a little bit out of my comfort zone, but it's okay. I still think that we can do things to push it. So this one is Sea Heroes. Like I said, a little bit out of my comfort zone. Totally fine, totally fine. What I want to do here with the text is I want to tie more of Sea Hero's colors into the rest of the character's background and everything. One thing that I definitely want to do is I want to move Sea Hero a little bit away from this character, just because this is sort of creating a little bit of visual confusion, and I want to push it a little bit to the side. We still have a lot of white space that we can play with. Or blank space, I should say. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna lock this one, and I'm just going to grab him here. And I just want to fill in a little bit of this blank space, right? That's my main objective. So I don't want to crop it here, because that's going to be a tangent right against where his shirt and his vest meet. I don't want to crop it here, because I think that's cropping the character off too much. I just want to crop it like halfway, just for a little bit more room. And that way the read on this visual cue will be a little bit clearer. So then we can sort of see the fist of the character. I don't know what the original drawing looks like underneath, so I'm sort of just doing my best. If this creates a tangent, you know, then I would just make this a little smaller to the other side. Actually, we should probably just do that right now. So I am separating the characters a little bit, but it's to give them some space. Because I think that them right next to each other is both creating tangents and creating a bit of visual confusion. Like, you don't really know what's going on there. I'm guessing this is like the end of a knife or something? That's what it looks like. I can't quite tell. And then there's probably a bunch of pre-done texture on the illustration as well. And so, okay, we've got a little bit more variation. I want to sort of enlarge this a little bit because, again, we don't need all the white space. Sea Hero has really spiky hair, so I think that leaving it there is okay. If we wanted to, we could crop it a little bit more like this, but again, the lack of the stripe kind of hurts the read, so I want to leave a bit of the stripe. I want to keep in mind where his little emblem on his shirt is, as well as where the spiky hair is, so I'm just going to move it a tiny bit just so that these ends get cropped, but not too much. I think... One thing I always like to do is when there's a VTuber in the thumbnail, I always see if there's a way that we can tie the VTuber's colors into the thumbnail. So, for example, I think what I'll do here is I'm going to do the same thing I did with Astra, and I'm just going to paint out the text, just so it's easier to work with. And this doesn't take too long. I don't need anyone's layered file. Again, this is sort of like how I was taught from this one art teacher on how to sort of edit things quickly so that he could review our work. He did this in a very quick, efficient format. So I'm just quickly getting rid of this, so that we know what we're working with. Alright, so remove the text in a very quick, sloppy way, but it works. We're gonna put it here again. It was all caps before, right? Just want to check that it was all caps. Yeah, alright, all caps, that's fine, because it's just a one-word thing. I don't know why it always defaults to these awful colors, but it does. And then for the actual text, I want to try seeing if we can take, like, Sea Hero's hair. Because, again, we're tying colors together. And I definitely want to change that font to something much more impactful. And I also want to keep the colors together. Or not the color, I want the text spacing to be closer. So I'm actually gonna make the lines a little thinner. I feel like what we could maybe do is play with a gradient, because... Or no, there's actually a lot of gradient going on in the shirt, so I might not want to do that. I'm trying to see how large of a font that I can go with. So this actually I think might work better. This is a font called Show Card. It's sort of like, you know, that Hollywood feeling, or something like Rockin' Records. Something very, very thick and bubbly, because it's just a one-word thumbnail, right? So we want it to be very, very apparent and very easy to read. What I might do here... I don't think I quite got the hair color. I want to maybe use the darker one. Maybe a little bit more vibrant and saturated. I think that works. I'm trying to see where we can put the font. That works better. And again, I have to keep going back to the original, just so that we know what we're doing. Okay, so do you see how the spacing of the letters here sort of add a little bit of visual confusion? It makes it a little hard to tell what is going on between the character's shirt, the detail in the shirt, the painting of the shirt, and then the separation of the letters. So by using a font that's really thick, where the characters are very condensed together, it creates a little bit of an easier visual read. I actually might go back and, come on. I might actually go back and try the white. The white, I don't think was working when it was separated, but it might work when it's closer together. What I might do instead is I might add a outline around this end, and then maybe do this in a blue. Again, trying to tie in our colors together. But if that doesn't work, then I might tie in the red color, right, of the arrow. That could work. I'll make this a little bit smaller so that we can see the hand. Just sort of playing around with the composition. Make this a little darker, a little more saturated, easier to see. There we go. Since Canva Free is limited, I'm thinking of moving to Krita and try making thumbnails using that. You could try, yeah. I really... Krita is free, so I totally understand that. I really prefer doing thumbnails in Affinity Designer. I know I've mentioned that to you in the past. I know it is a bit pricey. But if you want something that's like very... Oh, that's why it was confusing me. Because it was 2 layers for Sea Hero. Affinity Designer is expensive, but it does pay off. I suggest PaintNet because it's free and you can get plugins for it. I use Photopea. There's a ton of different options, yeah. Canva can feel very limited, though. Paint.net, I believe, is what... I want to say is what Murdoch uses? I can't remember. But yeah, Krita could be good. I don't know how Krita's text system is, but if it lets you download fonts, then yeah, absolutely. There's another reason I put the text in the exact spot, so the big old YouTube ban won't bother me. Ah, that's fair. Alright, let me see where... Alright, it's basically in the same area, right? I just want to change the font so that it's more... it's more in your face. I'm basically focusing on the fontness because I think that this gets a little hard to see with all the texture and the separation. And by making the font a very thick font, I think it helps solidify the single word. The other thing that I would suggest is... Actually, you know what? I'm gonna experiment here real quick, and I'm going to try seeing if we do the red and then the black instead of the black and the red, so that see if it matches the arrow any better. So this is our black, we want a red. I don't know why, it never goes into the right place, it just doesn't, and then we'll try maybe making our outline here in black. Does that work? This actually might work better because it feels like it matches the style of the arrow a bit more. You could probably go either way. With the black outline in the first version, it's probably easier to read. But this feels like it matches the arrow a little bit more. I'm gonna try this for the arrow. And I think I might want to change the text just slightly. It feels a little bit too bubbly. That's similar to what you had before, but it works with the outlines because there's not as much of a gap. Seeing what else I have here real quick. Is hobo good? This one could work. This one's ironically called Hobo. I don't know why. That might be slightly easier to read. I feel like that just flows a little bit better. And then for the arrow, I think the arrow you can push. And how I would do it is I would make the actual arrow part a little bit larger. A little bit thicker, I think. And then just because this is my preference, with like tangents and not wanting to get too close, I would make it a little bit farther from the text, just to give it a little bit more breathing room. And then you can go back in and add the add the outlines if you want to. But I think just pushing the arrow a little bit, and again, if you're using Krita, I know that this would be doable in Krita. But you can push that arrow a little bit more. And then what you could also do if you wanted to is you could try doing like a 3-layer to match the text. You don't have to, but that's just an option that you could do. A bit of the bright over the red could help. You'd sort of have it in the same style as the text. That one's kind of up to you, though. I think both the bright red and the text with the white could work. It's just a matter of adding more outline layers. It's just constantly adding more and more outlines. But I think, yeah, you have a very simple style for your thumbnails. It's usually just like, you know, your main subject and then the single eye-catching word. So I think that this probably can just work as is. One thing I might suggest is that part of your hair is still missing. I'm not going to be able to get it perfectly because I have sort of like this double thing going on. But it just sort of gets the idea across, you know? Like, yeah, this is doubling up from your other form. So I'm trying to manage it the best I can. The other thing I might try to do, and again, definitely something that you know you can do in Krita. In the same way that we were playing around with the photograph earlier, it might be a good idea to try to, like, emphasize the blush, because I know that this is, like, a blush that is part of your model, but it can be harder to see from far away. So I might hand draw some that is a little bit more intense. And you can also take a, like an airbrush and make a line like right over your face, and it'll really intensify the blush feeling more than you naturally would have on your model. So that's a way that you can kind of push things a little bit more, because from far away, it's sort of hard to tell what your expression is. And on a thumbnail, you really want to exaggerate things. I came to lurk while I have my lunch break. Usually make thumbnails in DaVinci Resolve. I'm currently working on short video ideas for uploading content again after recovering from my false copyright. That's fair. Yeah, I know you can make thumbnails in DaVinci Resolve. That would be a little, I personally would not know how to do that. But that's cool if it works for you. So this is sort of where we started. And mainly, it's just a matter of changing the font a little bit, pushing things a little closer, enlarging the arrow, and emphasizing your expressions. So I think that for you, this is a very doable alteration, addition, revision, whatever you want to call it. Just to sort of push what you have, because you're already using existing characters to sort of tell your story. So just having a little bit of that font push, I think will be good. Alright, next one is Kitsu. So for Kitsu's, let me again duplicate this, lock it. Yeah, I'm giving ideas. I'm not, like, making the clean version. Like you can see for, Judgmental Cats, I made it super, super rough, just trying to, like, fit things around and clean things up. Because I don't have your layered files, I can't clean them up perfectly. So this is just an idea for you to apply to your own stuff in the future, right? It's like sketching on top of your work. Okay, so for Kitsu's, I know that this is like a camera, I know from this video, I believe, that it is like a top VTuber programs that don't require cameras or something, right? So, a few things here. I think that top 3 2023 doesn't quite communicate to us what the top 3 is of, and I understand that there is going to be, there's going to be the YouTube title along with it, but I think in a lot of cases, sorry, let me just get some water real quick. I think in a lot of cases, the YouTube thumbnail should either communicate the idea or give you a teaser of the idea. And I think the one of the issues with this one in particular is that it's sort of giving us an idea, but not quite a clear one, so it... how do I explain this? It's ambiguous in a way that makes you think it might relate to something else, right? Because we're just seeing top 3 2023, and we do see this thing where it's like camera and then no. But personally, at first glance, I actually couldn't tell this was a camera. I understand that it has the lens, I understand that it has the different buttons. I think this is a camera from Pokemon Snap? Maybe? But if you are doing something for... And the reason I say that is because I think I see like a little Pokeball design here. If you're doing something for VTuber education, right? And you use an item from a video game like Pokemon, you kind of have 2 different audiences who both have to assume something about the other, right? You'd have to have someone who is familiar with the Pokemon game, who can see at a glance that there's a camera, and you would have to have people who also know the logos of what you have here in your hand. And I think that, you know, there's some logos that are very iconic, like, you know, the HoloLive play button logo, I think a lot of us know. But if you're just starting out as a VTuber, I'm not sure that these are the most recognizable. The other thing is that this, I think, could work. This feels like it's cropped off. I feel like I don't have the whole logo here. I wouldn't know what to look for at a glance. This one is probably okay. I can see that this is like an avatar maker. But I think you have a lot of elements that are good compositionally. But I think in your case, the issue is communicating what the video itself is about, because there's a lot of different elements going on. It's just a little hard to sort of tie it together, whereas like, you know, this, okay, we know it's Risk of Rain, characters from Risk of Rain, titled Risk of Rain. This we can tell is a story about these 2 lovers or some sort of drama, not really sure. We know this is focused on a character from Octopath Traveler, and we kind of have to assume that we know the topics here. So, the other thing is that I understand that you want your avatar in this piece. I understand you want your model in here. But because of that, again, like, keep in mind how small this is going to be. Having your model here is making the actual logos of the programs harder to see. Because I get that you want it in your hand, so you kind of want to, like, show that you're holding all these possibilities. But it's hard to see at a glance what you actually have in your hands. So I think it's a matter of slightly too many elements in your piece, and using elements that might not be clear to everybody. So for example, like we did with Astra, do you remember how we grabbed the, we had the shocked face emoji, and then Thorn said, oh, I would suggest changing that to a wedding ring, because it was thematic for the storyline and the colors matched better? Personally, what I would do is I would go and look up a camera emoji, because I think that the camera emoji is going to be more applicable to a wider audience than the specific emoji that is, like, you know, I feel like this is from Pokemon. It looks like a Pokemon item. I don't entirely know. It might be from, like, Pikmin. I'm not sure. I just know that this is not a typical camera. I get you probably wanted to put a little Easter egg in there, had something fun, but we don't really know what it is as a general audience. So I'm gonna grab this camera. This is like our basic Android icon camera, right? And I would use this instead, because I just think that this would be easier to understand. The other thing is that your no icon is a little bit clashing with your green background. I'm not actually sure why you have the green background. I don't know if it's your branding colors. But it feels like there's a lot of different colors going around here, and I'm not really sure where the brand story is. So I would personally take this camera. I would, you know, put the strike through it again. I might make this a little bit brighter. I feel like this is just a little bit easier to tell that it's a camera. I might even put an outline around it so it's easier to see. Maybe a black outline, maybe a white one. I'm not really sure. But you don't want it to detract from the background. You might actually make this a little bit smaller so that it's easier to see. Again, I'm not sure about the green, but you do have a lot of blue in your design. You have the red in your design with the red of the crossed out marking. You have the blue in your design, and it's not really reflected anywhere, so I would maybe use your blue for your branding. I feel like this might just feel a little bit more cohesive. I understand maybe you grabbed the green because of this item. I understand if you might have grabbed this because of this logo. I still don't know which program this is. The other thing is, instead of top 3 2023, it could apply to anything. Top 3 yogurt brands of 2023, top 3 bed companies of 2023, top 3 games of 2023. The top 3 2023 part isn't really doing you any favors because we don't really know top 3 what. So instead of top 3 2023, I would do something like, I think Soren said earlier, just writing no camera. Because that's the main point of why you're making the video, right? Is that it's like no camera solutions. So maybe no camera. How about no camera needed? Because we don't really care that it's like the top in 2023. We really care that it's no camera. So I'm just quickly... I know, it auto defaults to the weirdest colors, I swear. No camera needed. And instead of black, maybe we'll try the red of the crossed out piece. And then maybe we'll try doing that thing that we had before. Yeah, a little bit of a thicker white could work. So, okay, now I don't really care what the top 3 2023 is. All I know is that whatever this is I don't need a camera for it, right? The poster in the background, the one that starts with VD, looks confusing too. I thought it was another icon. It is, isn't it? This is another icon, right? I feel like it's another icon because if it was top 3 and he was using the icons, then it would be like 1, 2, 3. The other thing I would definitely pay attention to is, I get that if you wanted the green to match the background of this logo, but in that case, don't use 2 different greens, because that's just going to, it doesn't really seem like there's a reason for it, so I might potentially try to match your greens. Yeah, I think it's like no camera for these 3 apps. I think that's the idea that he's trying to go for. The other thing that is throwing me off here, and I'm not really sure how you would fix this. This would be a little bit too much for me to paint over. But do you see how much room your arms are taking because you're showing off the 3 logos? The problem with this is that the main focus of your video, no camera needed, kind of has to be, like, pushed into a corner. Because your arms are taking up, like, 3/4 of your screen size, almost. So, I get the look you're going for, but it's hurting your composition, because the main element of what we need to know about your video kind of ends up coming across as an afterthought. Because I think that the no camera is the most important thing that you need to say. What I would maybe try doing... I get the pose that you wanted to do. Here's what I would personally do. I'd put your arm to the side. I'm sorry, this is gonna be really rough. I'm just trying to do this quickly. I would just put your arm to the side here, get it out of the way. It's taking up too much room. Because I know you can pose yourself in different ways. But I think this is just taking up too much space. I'd put your arm down. I get it, your shoulder would probably behave differently in the Vroid app. I'm trying. I would grab this. Grab this logo here. Make it a little larger. Throw it up here. Overlap them. And then I would grab your main piece here. Combine these. Move whatever this is out of the way. I think you're showing, like... I think there's, like, a closet here. It's not really... It's not serving you. Grab your main element that you want everyone to be paying attention to. These are tied together, so this is tricky. Grab this main element, make it bigger. This is the main focus of your video. The main focus that we need to know is that whatever these programs are, we don't need a camera. That is the reason that your video is so important. And that's what you need to communicate, is that the no camera part is the main part that you need to focus on. I think that these items in the background are muddying your story because it's just creating too much visual language in the same way that Sea Hero had with the character's shirt in that painterly style and the items that were a little bit too close together. Like, just simplify this. And you have the white outline on yourself, but you don't on the main programs that we need to pay attention to. So, you know, grab that red again and highlight these so that we know what we're paying attention to. Make it a little bit thicker. We know what the focus is. Alright. Maybe... yeah. We don't need to add a glow effect. So now we know that we've got, like... The main idea is we don't need a camera. Use a regular camera idea that most people are familiar with. Have the 3 programs together. Don't have them separated because it makes it a little too confusing. And the other thing is, use a background where the camera shows better. I understand that before you were using an orange camera so that it was less ambiguous. But you kind of have like a gray camera now with a gray background, so just make it darker or make it a different color or do something to make it stand out because we need to see the camera. The camera's the most important element here. You know, add an outline to the circle if you need to as well. Figure out, like, what is your most... Figure out what story you need to tell the most. That is personally how I would do it. Alright. Call this revised. Also, I would save these as PNGs, if you can. It's usually less lossy. Gotta go, love the channel, by the way. Thank you, Estilly. Estilly, I really appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Alright. I think hopefully that makes sense. But mainly, like, communication is sort of your main thing. So, again, like, let me just throw these in a folder. So this is what we had before. Not really sure what we're focused or paying attention on. This is, we know the main thing is that we don't need a camera, and it's going to affect these 3 programs. Visual communication is, like, the most important part of thumbnail making. If you're doing a tutorial video, and it's hard to tell what the tutorial video is going to be on, and it just says top 3 2023, it's gonna be a little confusing. I understand that you are going to have the title in the YouTube title together. I totally get that, but your thumbnail should still communicate what it needs to be at a glance. Alright. And then the last one we have for today is Vesa. So, I like, this is sort of like, sort of a joke piece they did using my older, St. Patrick's Day assets. Okay, fine, okay, fine. Actual! Not getting to all of them today? Oh, I didn't even see that we had another one. Alright. No, we can, we can definitely get them all. I didn't know that anyone else had submitted, so I can definitely do that. Your Twitch for good luck. There you go. I felt it was good to have the Yoshi before mine. So, I think that, what Vesa is doing on the left side works very well. She's kind of emphasized, like, the main thing, which is, like, the pot of gold. You can see the, you can see the words. You can see the handles of the pot. You can tell what it is. We could probably make it a little bit bigger, but I think it's okay because, well, we can kind of go about it 2 ways. We could either have it further away from her, like the you know, hunt for the gold is farther on the other side, or we could have it next to you. You could kind of go either way with it. I do like how they emphasized, like, the, I forget what this meme effect is called, but sort of like the laser eyes look. Kind of like we were saying with Sea Hero, even if you, as a VTuber, don't have those native expressions, throwing them on the thumbnail, in addition, can add a lot. So, I really like this effect. I think it's very effective. I feel like I should let you know I didn't make this thumbnail 100% by myself, just for full disclosure. Alright, sounds good. I call them shing. Nice. I like that. Hopefully not late to stream? No, John, you're all good. Welcome in, welcome in. Hopefully everything's going well. So, alright. I'm gonna do the same thing here. I'm gonna paint out the text, just so we have a clean slate. Just so it's easier to see what to do. So I'll demonstrate what I'm talking about that we could kind of do if you wanted to. But of course we don't have to do it this way. This is just sort of like a potential idea. If you wanted to say hunt for the gold, and you were still like, you want to make it look more like you're looking for it, then what you could do is make this a little bit bigger and have this like, I know, I don't have your full model, I'm sorry. Have it sort of on the bottom, and then hunt for the gold, and then the gold is within the gold words. That is a potential idea. I'm gonna play with this a little bit. Reason being that I don't have much to say aside from the text, and this would maybe help you think of future ideas that you could utilize or not utilize. Either way. So, I'm just gonna quickly throw in, black shape here. I know that you have a lot more detail. I don't have the time to figure out what all of it is. The other thing is that, this might also help your pose stand out more. We're creating a little bit more of a silhouette, right? Sort of see what it is. So, saying, like, hunt for the gold. The other thing is that with, like, the ching eyes, you're also now directly looking at it. So, we've created sort of this, difference with audience focus. And because your head is turned, we see what you, as the main character, are focusing on. Don't forget the green sash. Alright. Look, I know that you have, like, the whole crop top and the detail and everything here. I don't know. I mean, I could go wild with it, you know? There. Is that a little bit more accurate? I love how I've just sort of, like, kind of memorized this at this point. There we go. And I know there's, like, a jacket. You get it. You get it. But anyway, I think that this creates a little bit more focus on what it is that we're looking for. The other thing that I think works about this, again, like I said, is that we're emphasizing the silhouette, so we can see what your hand is doing. Whereas before, with it being all close together, it's kind of hard to see what pose you're in, right? Yeah, you've already got yourself looking this direction. It's a little confusing if it's like hunt for the gold and you're looking this way, but you have the gold with you. So this way you're looking directly at the gold. Also, don't be afraid to crop things, because when you crop things, you can enlarge the size to fit better. So as long as you're not cropping in an awkward way where it's like, you know, right at the edge or something, feel free to crop things. It helps a lot. I'm gonna do the same thing here that I did with Astrofels. So, hunt. I hate this weird standard. I'm sure there's a way that I can, change what the defaults are. I just haven't looked into it. That might actually be a good font for the word gold, though. So. No, it's not. Never mind. and make that white. We'll make that black, and we'll make it a little bit... How did you have this before? Oh. White with black shadow. Okay. We can still do that. White with a black drop shadow. So we'll do this. We'll take away the edge. We will go with something more basic and easy to read, and then gold will be fancy, and we'll spend the most time working on that. So here's my idea. We'll go with some very basic, easy to read, like a very thick font, and then when we do something very fancy, it will show as being, it'll have a lot of very good contrast. Why don't we try... I'm just playing around here. I'm trying to find something that's fairly basic, but I also want a little bit of flair to it, so I don't want like a Arial or Futura or something. Maybe this could work. So this one is called November. I'm trying to think if these should be in all caps or not. Where's your previous one in all caps? No, it was not. I might try combining them. Hunt. I don't really like this font yet. So maybe not November. Let's try something like... I want something that is a sans serif, which means it doesn't have all the little edges on it. Because gold is going to be in serif. I think Kozuka would be good. Again, something very, very basic and very clean. The word gold's gotta be the golden color with a metallic sheen. Yeah, kind of. I'd love a breakdown on how to pick fonts sometimes. I'm really bad at that. I'm not the best at picking fonts, but I know a few tips and tricks. Could pointing at the gold work, or would it be a bit much? It probably doesn't need an arrow. I think that the direction of her face and the sort of shining eyes communicate it. We could, but because, like, most people know what gold is, they kind of know what gold looks like. In other cases, I think that an arrow would be very beneficial. In this case, we probably don't need it. Also, hello, Grendel. Nice cauldron and coins, the quality is gold. Ah! I love it. So, alright. Hunt. And then for the... I am going to make on one line, on two for the... What we're going to do here is we're going to make this closer together. We're going to make this smaller. And then we're going to make hunt larger. Because for the is kind of just like our build title. We don't really care about it. Right? We just sort of need it to finish a sentence grammatically. So we can do hunt for the, and then... How can I do a drop shadow in this? This might be a little tricky to do drop shadows in, but that's okay. So we can do selection, create selection, make a new layer under it, make it in black. Do the same thing here. Selection, create selection, new layer under it, make it in black. That's how you sort of do like a poor man's drop shadow. If you don't have Photoshop, you can duplicate and match like that. Because I'm just sort of trying to work in the same way that that Vesa had the fonts in before. Alright, why are you being difficult? There we go. And if we wanted, we could reduce the opacity so it felt a little bit more like a shadow. But I think it works in that thicker format. And then gold, we need to be completely different. So I'm gonna duplicate the word hunt. And I'm gonna make this the word gold. But this is going to be a very different, fancy font. So something like, no, I need something a little bit thicker and a little bit crazier. Like a script. I don't like how there are a few letters where script fonts just look like a lowercase version instead of the capital. It's something I always get frustrated by. Maybe whimsy? No. We're not gonna do whimsy. Woodcut could actually work in this instance. Let's see here. I'm not in love with it. But, you know, because this is like a St. Patrick's Day themed thing, we can do something that's a little more Celtic looking. So that's sort of what I'm looking for, is something that has a little bit more of a historic feeling. I really wish that that looked different. That's actually my Celtic font, but it doesn't work. Parchment does not work either. I think the most time-consuming part for me when picking a font, or when doing a thumbnail, is picking a font. Straight up do Old English. I need something that's similar to Old English, but not as crazy. Because it needs to still be legible. Script? Still not good. The G is what's causing the problem. You know what? Okay, this one I think I could work with. I'm just gonna test 2 more. Alright. Mr. Honey is good. And I'm just scrolling to see if there's anything else that I want to consider, but this is probably the best we're gonna get. We could use engravers. Nope, engravers is kind of boring. I know that this is kind of the time-consuming part. Okay, you know what? Algerian. Algerian would be good. The original font looked good. It just needed to be made in metallic. I'm trying to see if we can combine fonts. That's sort of my objective here. But if you want to just go back for the original font, we could do that too. It's totally up to you. I'm just saying how you can pair fonts. And not all fonts pair well. Two fonts is fancier than one font. This doesn't look enough like a G. It's really hard to make a good G, I think. You know, okay, you know what? I like this one. Does Brellos work? Character spacing, make this a little bit smaller. that's fine. I want to put an outline on this so it's easier to see. Selection, create selection. We're going to do the same thing here. Throw this in black. It's up to you if you think that that is a legible enough font. You could be playing around with that for a long time. I don't want it to read like cold. That's my only problem, but maybe I've just been looking at it too long. But then what you can also do with the fonts here, we want to do like a gold effect. How can I do this? Throw it on multiply. This is sort of more of a painterly thing. This is like less something that would be easy to do in like a program if you're just playing around. But this is sort of how I would do like a gold effect if you were after that look. Some people don't like this. They say it looks cheap. They don't like doing these kind of textures. What I actually would do instead, maybe, is I would find like a, what do you call it? Maybe look up a gold texture here, like a gold foil, perhaps? Let me see if I can find a nice gold foil effect. We'll find a free-to-use gold foil. And we'll lock it here. I mean, you could do something crazy, you know? You can just sort of have fun with it. Just give it a little bit more texture, maybe. The other thing is, I kind of want to add an outline around it, just because. Oh, it's white on white. That's why. Okay. Just so it's a little easier to see, right? Just so it separates things a little bit more. Cheap is my brand. You could do something like this. If you didn't want to, if you just wanted to, like, just leave it white, you absolutely could. I think this could work as well. If you want to do that fancy, silly gold effect, then you can grab some textures and lock them and sort of just throw it on there. If you did do it this way, I would probably move this down a little. Just so that it's not gold on gold, right? Just so they're not touching, because this might be a little too hard to read. But if you moved it down a little bit, it could work. At that point, a lot of it's personal preference. Must avoid the gold tangents. I think that the drop shadow with the black actually helps a lot with that. Because here, if we didn't have it, right, now it just kinda... If we didn't have the... Now it fully gets lost. But if we have the outline and we have the drop shadow, we're separating it enough. The other thing is that I made this a little bit cooler, and these coins are a little warmer. So I am mixing the colors. I know with Kitsu I said, you know, maybe we don't want to mix the colors. With this I think we do, because it separates the two better. Like with your sash, I feel like I painted it too much to the background color, so you would maybe want to change the background color a little bit to make your sash stand out. But I think that this is decent. I think that this still plays around with, like, looking at where to go, playing with the different fonts. The main thing here is that for the can be squished and made smaller so that they take up the same amount of room as the line for hunt. So hunt for the gold. Would I make the background green darker or lighter? I wouldn't make it darker or lighter. I would change the hue. So, for example, I'll try to do this really quick. Because your sash is sort of that same green, this is gonna look really rough, and I'm sorry, but, you know, Just to get the idea down. I would make it cooler or warmer. So probably not this way because that's going to be too close. You still want it to have maybe more saturated. I'd have to look at your belt again. If we made it darker, I feel like it would get a little bit too close to your jacket. However, because the text is lighter, it does help that pop out more. So what I currently did here is it's a little bit more saturated and a little bit darker. And the hue actually didn't change. I'd have to know what your belt looked like again. Your sash. I keep saying belt. Your sash. This does help add contrast, though. Yeah, I might make it a little more vibrant and maybe a little bit darker. And if you did that, then I would reduce the effects in the background, maybe. But maybe something like this. The sash is a very vibrant green. Yeah, in that case, we would probably go the opposite way. We'd probably cut the vibrancy and make it darker. That actually would work better. The more vibrant I get, the closer it's getting to your hair. But this is still not dark enough to mess with your coat much. So, a little bit of saturation, a little bit darker. And yeah, I think your sash is much brighter, if I remember correctly. It's more like this color, right? Something like that. And then, of course, you already did this, but I kind of painted over it accidentally. You already had that glow around yourself, right? To sort of separate you from the background better. I think something like that could work. So, this is where we started off. So, again, like, changing the background to not be a little darker, separate your hair a little bit more. And, the main thing that I think that you can focus on is the font. Just going really wild with the font, grabbing, like, gold textures if you want, changing up the different fonts, pushing them on different lines, and then you can kind of have this very intense in-your-face effect. And of course, now you're looking at the gold. You're also looking at the word gold, which helps. You're hunting for both the word and the actual pot of gold. Shiny glow to give you treasure finding power. Could give Vesa a shadow to help with the background? You could, yeah, like a drop shadow. Like how we had for the text. You definitely could. You don't want to repeat too many effects. You want to have a little bit of variation. In this, I had all the text in the drop shadow, but that's because we did a lot with the, with changing the font to be crazier. If we kept the font the same, then I probably wouldn't have this also have the drop shadow. So we did everything with the drop shadow to unify everything, and then we changed one element. So here, if we have these drop shadows, we could add it to where Vesa is, but we'd want to change something else to make it separate. It's kind of all the, you know, it's a little bit of a balance there. But I think that's good. We'll save that one out. We'll say revision here. And then we've got one more at the end that I have not actually seen, so this will be interesting. I haven't had a chance to look at it to see what I would change. So let's see how this would work. Let me go in there real quick. Darn it, it's good. It's really good, so I don't know how I would edit this. That's what I was afraid of, is that it would be like... Is that it would be hard to know what to do. Alright, let's take a look at this. Darn you, Thorn. Making this hard for me. Alright, this is a very strong thumbnail. This has a lot of the points that I've addressed today. This balances a lot of different things. You can see a lot of the different, elements I was talking about, like doing the 2 different types of fonts, changing the size, balancing the color. We noticed that, like, in the fire effect, he balanced the fire with the markings on himself and the secondary text here. We added some effects on this text so that this showed as being more important. This is a little lesser. Oh, Thorn. Yeah, you've got a good design sense when it comes to this. I wish I had more time to look at this, that I would have known what to do. What are my thoughts on the sunlight yellow glare? That's kind of the only thing that I can think of at the moment, because this is sort of like the first time I'm seeing it just now, is that I think the yellow with the yellow font, I understand that there is a separation here. I think that having the exact same color that close to each other might be a little bit, off-putting. I would... Oh, the fire's also gonna make it really hard to edit. I would maybe adjust this color to be more of the sandy beach texture, because I think that while you do have all these effects going on for the word devlog, the yellow is sort of making it a little harder to see. The balance of the blue really helps. But, just because it's the exact same yellow. My thinking is yellow catches the eye, so when it shows up in recommended, it'll catch the eye. No, that's very true. I just wouldn't have had it where the text was, you know? Actually, you know what I would have done? This might have made it harder for the golem to stand out, but I might have, like, almost reversed this. I might have, like, put the beach where the font is, and then the yellow where the golem is, but because the golem is sort of yellow terrain, I don't know if that would blend in more too. This is a hard one. You had to throw this at me at the end, huh? Trying to think. I feel like you can make the golem a little bit larger, but I also understand that you sort of have, like, this open world effect that you want to show off. Like, the golem's your main character, but you still have, like, it's taken up about a third, and you're showing the whole body. I don't know if you would want to... I don't know if you would want to make it larger to take up more room. In the same way that you sort of have yourself here. Like, I'm wondering if you might want to take this amount and blow it up larger? Trying to think here. If we were to play around moving this out of the way. I submitted it before the stream started, I promise. I didn't know. I would have spent more time looking at this. I don't know if this is how the golem looks. At this point, I'm just sort of... I'm playing around, I'm looking around. Seeing what you could do. I'm messing up the letter G, but Just sort of trying to test. Maybe 2 could be larger. I need to crop out the golem first. The fire is gonna make my life harder. What are you doing to me, Thorn? Copy you over there. We made you bigger. There's no room to work here. Maybe crop this a little bit. Sort of gonna make me go mad with trying to paint over everything, aren't you? Nah, it's fine. This is a good experiment. I'm just teasing ya. But I'm thinking maybe you could push the size of things. Have the 2 be a little bit larger, maybe? I don't know how much of the 2 is an emphasis on everything. I feel like first game finished is probably your most important part. But at this point, I'm just sort of trying to see what can be pushed. So, devlog 2, first game finished. We've got the character a little bit larger. And again, we have this fire here that I kind of ruined. Try to paint in a little bit of the fire again. Make the character a little bit larger in the thumbnail, but still sort of like... still our emphasis, still our focus. But make the text take a little bit more room. So made the golem a little bit more of a focus. Just sort of pushing things a little. And I'm trying to see what else. Yeah, probably have this in front of your horns. I'd probably do the same here, because this is just a teeny tiny little bit. It's a little confusing when it's overlapped. I would probably just put yourself behind the text. You could probably get away with making yourself a little bit bigger. Hang on a sec. And just fitting your horn here, like right in this little notch, will give you a tiny bit more room. So if we grab yourself here, sorry Vessa, we're not getting rid of the dragon. And just, there we go. Just try to get it right in that little corner area. Trying to see how much that word finished is affecting things. Maybe not. I wish there was a way that we could, like, move this over slightly. Can I just sort of scooch this? I don't know how it's going to affect the word finished. I don't know how much of a tangent that might create. I'm hoping it wouldn't. This would sort of be dependent on how it looks when it gets cropped. And it's hard to sort of, it's a little hard to tell right now. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm like breaking all of your text. I'm sorry. This is sort of, you know, this is sort of situation dependent. This might work, this might not. It's a little bit hard to tell. You might be able to fill this space in a little bit more with some more fire. I don't know if that fire was pre-made, but if you have any control of it, then you might be able to fill in a little bit more of this space here. Because I think filling this in might help so that it's not as bare as I had made it. Just sort of fill in that space. And you know what you could... I get what you're saying with the intensity of that yellow, but you already have the yellow in the font. So I'm wondering if you could slightly shift this to a little bit more of an orange, just so it separates from your text a little bit. You definitely don't have to do this if you don't want to. I'm just trying to see if there's like a very, very subtle form you could do. Orange and blue are also opposite colors, so that could work. Again, I'm not changing the color intensely. I'm just seeing if I can separate from the font a little bit. I do see what you're saying with the intensity of the yellow, though. There is definitely a merit to that. I just make it, like... I'd make it... either a hair darker or a hair lighter, just so that there's a little bit of a difference. Just so it's not the exact same yellow. And... yeah, I don't really know how that fire works, but yeah. I'm pushing the size of the golem a little bit. I'm pushing the font a little bit. Also, just you want to make sure that you don't have any tangents there. You might need to push this down a tiny bit. Just so there's enough emphasis. So yeah, I think you really got the graphic style down. It's really just, little nitpicky things. Little nitpicky things here and there. But I think that it's pretty solid. I would also just watch, maybe, this could sort of go either way. I might give a tiny bit more room there. Again, it's basically just very nitpicky at this point. You get what I'm saying, though. And of course, I know that the G probably can't be altered that much, but I'm just trying to see if there's a way that we can fit this G in this space, because it would fit very nicely with the word first game finished. If we can just fill that space in with the G. That might be more of a customized thing, but yeah, I would say something like that. So, let's see. This is where we started. I still think this is very strong. I just think that you can, I think you can push your main character a little bit and sort of have it, more intense and in your face as sort of your main subject. So instead of like a third of your thumbnail, it's almost taking up half your thumbnail, right? Not sure entirely how possible all those changes are. Hopefully you can make a few of them. But just sort of filling in all of those nooks and crannies. Alright, we'll save this one out and write revision on it as well. But overall, very good work. Alrighty. I think that is all the submissions that we have today. Does anybody have any questions about any of this, as we sort of went over them and talked about some of the changes and alterations and everything? Does anybody have any questions or anything they want me to go over or further explain? Or sort of emphasize? I'm gonna try them now? Awesome! Awesome, sounds good. But yeah, is there anything that people would like to know about this sort of rundown and revision process. Anything you want to know about fonts or graphics or composition or layout. Can't think of anything at the moment? That's alright. Hello, VA Clips. Think you did a great job, though. You worded your suggestions and logic behind them very well. That's good to hear. I'm glad to hear that. This is sort of a big experimental thing, seeing how things go. But I'm glad that you guys like this. For me, I want to work on my interesting fonts, and free version of Canva can't allow me to do that. Yeah, definitely experiment with some other things. Like Vessa was saying, Photopea, or I think Judgmental Cat was saying Paint.net. There's definitely other options. If Krita allows you to upload your own fonts, all the better. I do want to see more of this in the future. Yeah, we'll sort of see how things go. I'm kind of debating how I want to do these future ones, but I think it's hopefully effective for you guys. I said that I had this first session being free. I'm not entirely sure how I would do future ones. If anything, I was thinking like, you know, like a $2 to $3 thing just to show a little bit of an investment. Because I am doing a lot of paint over. But we'll see. There's sort of some things that I need to think about, figure out, analyze, all that kind of stuff. But I'm very glad that you guys like it. That makes me very happy to hear. Alright. I think that we are wrapping up for today. So, next stream, I'm not entirely sure what we're going to be doing. I think we might either start, I might either be working on a commission for someone, depending, or we might be working on an asset set. I'm not entirely sure, but I will let you guys know. And with that, I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day, even if you're not. If you have not yet, definitely join the Discord. The Discord is where you are going to get the first, my words are out today. It's where you're gonna get the first notice of anytime we do any of these kind of streams where we have audience interaction and submissions. So definitely feel free to join. You also get notifications when I go live and different events and things that we're doing. So definitely feel free to join the Discord, subscribe on YouTube if you haven't, follow on Twitch if you haven't. Would love to see this type of stream going over other VTuber or content creation related topics. I will definitely keep that in mind, John. I will definitely keep that in mind. I really like going over things that are very VTuber specific with, like, branding and concept and design and such, so I'm definitely going to be keeping that in mind. Thank you very much. But with that, I think that we're calling it. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day, evening, or night, wherever you may be in the world or the worlds beyond. And well, thank you so much, Stargazers. I'm glad you enjoyed this session. It was a lot of fun. All the best.